N3on is trying to change the story people tell when they hear his name. He wants people to think of the polished, calmer version of himself he's presenting today, not the chaos he built his career on. And to be fair, he has been putting in the work.
And first and foremost, I just want to take accountability, for everything that I've said or done in the past. To anyone that I've talked shit to anyone I've said anything insane to anyone that I've made a remark to, I am very genuinely sorry from the bottom of my heart. Deep inside, that is not the person that I am, and I want to apologize.
He's apologizing to people he once clowned, collaborating with NBA players instead of troublemakers, and finally learning that being likable is a currency just as valuable as views.
Genuinely, I know I said it on the internet, but to your face, I'm sorry for what I said, bro, for real. And I'm gonna take full accountability, genuinely. That was my, I'm being so deadass, not for the cameras, nothing, I'm being so deadass, it was my fault.
But even with all that effort, there's a reason his reputation has been so hard to shake. N3on burned his name into internet history with some of the most unhinged decisions a young creator has made on camera, and the memory of those moments does not disappear just because he wants to hit reset. People remember the fake brain tumor saga where he convinced tens of thousands he was dying, posted goodbye videos, let fans grieve, and then came back days later acting like nothing happened.
Did you say that you had committed suicide?
No, I said I was going to a surgery or something and it couldn't go well or anything, and there's just a video, a montage, and he's dead. Duke Dennis, I was in a Rockets game, there was a cut scene where they were showing a replay of Carmelo Anthony hitting a jump shot, and I was in the back of the cut scene, and then he posted on Twitter and they're like, oh, he's not dead, and then Solomon dropped the video and it was a whole thing. But that's the first moment in my career I was like, damn, what the f did I just do?
He let his younger brother upload a tribute montage and fed off the sympathy while donations poured. People remember the chaos he created by mocking people on stream, dropping slurs for laughs.
A lot of people are saying they're gonna pull up to this party and beat my respectfully, I'm 5 deep with a bunch of black kids and they have nothing to live for in life. They're gonna beat you back, right? No one's touching me. Shut up before I fucking whip you, you dumb whore. I will whip every single one of you. I will whip you. I will whip you. I will whip you. Stupid dumbass black monkey tree, suck my
N3on once said this is the reason he stays away from black people.
Some black guy tased my dad and robbed him of $50,000.
Is that a real story?
I swear to God. And then another black guy.
In what situation?
I don't mean to be racist. And another black guy, my dad fired her, or it was a girl. He fired her. But she came late for work. He fired her, and then she came with her boyfriend and robbed the entire place.
He got into fights with creators who eventually checked him in real life because he could not hide behind a monitor anymore. Clips of him getting slapped by Fousey, running from Nate Diaz's crew while shouting apologies, and getting pressed in the streets for saying the wrong thing have replayed endlessly across the internet. Every time he said he would stop being toxic, he always came back worse. So when people hear that N3on is changing, they do not automatically believe it. They remember the stunts, the manipulation, the lies, the drama, and the humiliations. They remember a kid who built his brand on shock value and spiraled into controversy after controversy until the entire internet treated him like a running joke. And that is part of the story we need to explore, because his rise and fall is not just the tale of a toxic streamer, it is a layered journey shaped by ambition, insecurity, and a desperate hunger for attention that pushed him deeper and deeper into reckless behavior. To understand why N3on is trying so hard to rebuild his image today, you have to see where the story really began, and how everything spiraled long before he ever tried to reinvent himself. Back in 2016, he was just a kid barely 12 or 13 years old, sitting in front of a basic setup and trying to carve out a place for himself in the NBA 2K community. There was nothing outrageous about him back then. No shock value, no controversies, no fake personas, just a young teenager uploading build videos, gameplay breakdowns, and the same type of content every small 2K creator was posting at the time. His earliest videos were simple and straightforward. He talked about archetypes, badge combinations, and jump shot releases. He wasn't a character yet. He was just a kid who wanted people to watch his clips. He had no audience, no momentum, and no real identity as a creator, but he kept uploading anyway. Every day he posted something, even if the views barely hit double digits. When you look back at those early uploads, you can see how genuinely excited he was about the process. He felt like any new subscriber meant he was one step closer to being someone online. That's why he made a promise most small creators make at some point. He told his tiny audience that if he ever hit 1,000 subscribers, he would finally show his face. For a kid his age, that milestone probably felt massive, and on January 27, 2018, it finally happened. N3on crossed 1,000 subscribers and kept his word by posting his first ever face reveal. It wasn't dramatic or polished, it was just a 14-year-old kid talking to the camera, surprised that people actually cared enough to follow him. That video marked a turning point. It was the first time viewers saw the person behind the gameplay clips, and it helped him become more recognizable within the 2K space. Even after the face reveal momentum, being a small creator wasn't easy. N3on uploaded practically every single day, balancing school, homework, and the grind of trying to stand out in a crowded community, but his numbers were completely inconsistent. Some videos would randomly perform well, while others barely moved, and as those spikes faded, the comments started getting harsher. People told him his channel was dead. They told him he fell off before he even had a chance to rise. Those negative comments hit harder than he wanted to admit. He even made a video asking people to stop calling his channel dead because it was killing his motivation.
Y'all are really demotivating me right now, y'all. All these comments say my channel is dead, y'all. Okay, I understand my channel is dead.
These early years weren't glamorous or controversial. They were defined by a kid trying to figure out how to grow on a platform that rarely rewards patience. But this period also shaped him in ways that would come back later. Constant uploads, fluctuating views, early hate, and the pressure to stay relevant all planted the seeds for the desire to stand out at any cost. Before N3on ever became toxic or chaotic, he was just a young teenager chasing recognition, trying to prove his channel wasn't dead, and slowly discovering how hungry he was for attention. By the time NBA 2K18 and 2K19 rolled around, N3on had finally started to gain real traction. For the first time in his YouTube career, he wasn't just another unnoticed kid uploading into the void. His views were climbing, his videos were getting shared around the community, and people were beginning to recognize his voice, his reactions, and his personality. But that early rise came with a realization that would shape everything he did next. N3on noticed that playing like everyone else, talking like everyone else, and presenting himself like every other 2K creator wasn't going to take him anywhere. He blended in too easily. Nothing about him was unique enough to break him out of the pack, so he pivoted hard.
All I gotta say, toxic N3on on the way. That's all I gotta say. Get ready. Toxic N3on on the way. That's all I gotta say. Get ready. Yeah.
Instead of focusing on gameplay or clean sports commentary, he leaned into anger. Real anger, exaggerated frustration, wild raging that turned every minor moment into meltdown-level entertainment. His videos transformed from typical 2K uploads into chaotic showcases of him screaming, flipping out, and letting his emotions ride the entire experience. And viewers loved it. They ate up the intensity. They shared clips of his freakouts. They boosted his name in group chats and comment sections. For the first time, N3on had found something that worked. From that moment forward, he committed to being a different kind of creator. Someone louder, meaner, and more unfiltered than anyone else in the 2K community. He wasn't just raging anymore, he was leaning into racism, insults, and shock value. He figured out that the more extreme he went, the faster the views came in. It was a formula he embraced like it was his ticket to the top. Of course, the backlash came quickly. People complained. Other creators called him out. His name got dragged into more arguments and community discussions. And instead of dialing back, N3on doubled down. In the middle of the heat, he posted a video titled "Clearing Up My Name, No More Toxic N3on," acting like he was ready to turn over a new leaf. But anyone who watched what happened next knows that video was nothing more than damage control. The moment the upload went live, he became even worse. His insults escalated, his raging intensified, the racist jokes ramped up. Toxic N3on wasn't a phase, it became his entire identity. And while it pushed him deeper into controversy, it also pushed him further into relevance. For the first time, people weren't just watching him, they were reacting to him, talking about him, engaging with him. Love him or hate him, they couldn't ignore him. In 2019, N3on stumbled into one of the strangest and most attention-grabbing chapters of his early rise, the Ronnie 2K's son era. It started as a joke, a running bit where N3on claimed to be the secret son of Ronnie 2K, the public face of the NBA 2K franchise. The claim was obviously ridiculous, but it caught fire across the 2K community. Other creators featured N3on in videos using the joke as a central theme, and several of those videos pulled millions of views. Overnight, N3on went from a small 2K YouTuber to a recognizable personality within the community because everyone wanted to be in on the bit. But the joke had unexpected real-world consequences. Ronnie2K later revealed that the rumor spread so far and became so persistent that it nearly ruined his marriage. His in-laws believed the claims enough to question whether he actually had a secret child, and it caused serious tensions behind the scenes.
My wife's parents are going to be there. They almost didn't let us get married because they're like, this guy has a child, and we don't accept that.
For N3on, it was a moment that showed both the reach of his content and the unintended damage his antics could cause. Eventually, the situation got big enough that N3on had to address it publicly. He clarified that it was just a joke and explained the origins of the bit. But by that point, the rumor had already solidified his name in the 2K world. Whether people loved him or hated him, they knew who he was, and that bizarre chapter became one of the first major boosts to his notoriety long before he became the chaotic IRL streamer everyone recognizes today. Still, he wasn't satisfied with being just another noisy creator in the NBA 2K space. He wanted bigger numbers and a wider audience, and at the time, nothing on YouTube was pulling views like Fortnite. So, he shifted his entire content strategy into that world. But he didn't enter Fortnite as a competitive player or a highlights creator. He stepped into it as an entertainer chasing shock value. And that shift marked the beginning of his move from simple gaming content to full-blown manufactured drama. Instead of winning people over with skill, he leaned into creating exaggerated moments that felt real enough to fool younger viewers, but insane enough to grab attention instantly. Fake win streaks became common. He would stage victories, overhype his gameplay, and present himself as a player he clearly wasn't. But it worked. His audience didn't come to him for authenticity, they came for his rubbish. He expanded that chaos with fake arrest videos where he pretended to get in trouble mid-stream, fake police encounters, and clips that were so obviously fabricated to older viewers, but believable enough for the kids who followed him. One of his biggest hits from this era was his running away video, where he dramatically sprinted out of his house on stream, pretending he was fleeing from someone trying to get him.
I raged, bro. I punched a hole in my wall. And my parents weren't having it, bro. I punched a hole in my wall, and my parents were not having it. So they said, yo, you know what? They took my PS4, they unplugged my PS4, and they said, you know what? I'm sending you to a mental hospital.
The video exploded and crossed more than 3 million views, proving that the more absurd the stunt was, the more attention it brought in. That success told N3on everything he needed to know. Real gameplay wasn't the path forward. Manufactured chaos was. By the end of 2019, he was no longer seen as a regular creator. He was becoming known for clickbait, stage drama, and a willingness to lie to his audience if it meant more views. People started catching on, and instead of slowing down, that reputation only pushed him further down the path of making controversy his main content strategy. Late 2019 became the moment N3on crossed a line that most creators never recover from. After months of smaller stunts and fake clips, he escalated his content into something far darker. He uploaded a video titled "N3on is Dying," where he claimed he had been diagnosed with a brain tumor and was experiencing seizures so severe that doctors were preparing him for a risky surgery. The tone of the video was emotional and somber. Viewers, many of them young and deeply invested in him, took it seriously. Not long after, he followed it up with an even heavier upload called N3on's Final Words. In it, he said the surgery could kill him, and he wanted to leave behind pre-recorded videos so his fans could still see him even if he didn't make it. That idea alone amplified the emotional manipulation behind the stunt. He even scolded viewers who questioned him, saying that anyone suggesting he was faking was a terrible person for making light of such a serious condition. The guilt, the emotional pull, the dramatic framing of it all were crafted to trap fans into believing him and defending him. Then came December 26th. A tribute video titled "He's Gone, R.I.P." appeared on his channel, supposedly uploaded by his younger brother. It was edited like a memorial, using clips of N3on's best moments, soft music, and captions implying he had died from surgical complications. Fans were devastated. But 5 days later, N3on returned as if nothing happened. He posted another video claiming he had survived the surgery, suffered a seizure afterward, and somehow recovered completely in just 48 hours. His tone was casual, and shockingly dismissive considering the emotional storm he had caused. This time, the internet didn't let it slide. The backlash hit hard. His videos were flooded with hate comments, and dislike ratios climbed past 80%. People weren't just angry, they felt manipulated, betrayed, used as emotional props in a storyline he made up for clicks. This arc became N3on's first major downfall. It was the moment the internet stopped seeing him as a harmless, loud kid and started recognizing him as someone willing to fake tragedy and death for attention. And that stain on his reputation would follow him long after the drama died down. At the height of the COVID pandemic in 2020, when fear and uncertainty were at an all-time high, N3on decided to chase views by exploiting that panic. He uploaded a video titled "Meeting Someone with Coronavirus," and the thumbnail alone was designed to cause anxiety. He was shown wearing a medical mask in what looked like a hospital room, sitting next to someone implied to be infected with COVID. For viewers living through lockdowns and non-stop news alerts, it felt like a shocking and reckless stunt. The video spread quickly because people believed he had actually put himself at risk during a global health crisis. But none of it was real. The COVID patient turned out to be his friend Sickbot, who later admitted the entire thing was an April Fool's joke. Sickbot even uploaded his own video titled "I Survived Coronavirus," revealing it was all fake. N3on saw the trend, realized it could pull views, and jumped on it for attention. He wasn't trying to inform anyone or talk about the situation. He was using fear, confusion, and a deadly pandemic to squeeze out clicks. When things would get really heated, N3on apologized publicly and said he would change, but by that point, the apology felt empty. The pattern was already clear. He would take things too far, get exposed, apologize, and then do something just as reckless a few months later. After that incident, his content spiraled even deeper into chaotic clickbait from 2020 to 2022. He churned out extreme titles that were designed to shock younger viewers and trigger outrage. Videos like "Donald Trump swatted my house," "Arrested live," and "Drafted to World War III" became typical for him. None of them were real. They were the next evolution of the fake death era, just louder and more exaggerated. His channel stopped being about the gameplay or entertainment. It became a non-stop stream of staged emergencies, fake threats, and artificial drama. YouTube started reacting. The platform hit him with demonetizations, warnings, and community guideline strikes for misleading content. The algorithm stopped recommending him. Brand-safe companies wanted nothing to do with someone staging arrests and pretending to be hunted by the government for clout. By the end of that period, the bright spark he once had on the platform was dimming fast. His growth stalled. His revenue dipped. His reputation took another hit. You see, when N3on's YouTube career started collapsing under its own weight, another path opened up for him: live streaming.
This exposure helped him build a lot of important connections early in his career, most notably becoming friends with one of the biggest streamers in the world, Adin Ross. Now, when the two first met, Adin wasn't anywhere near as big as he eventually became.
And that path was paved almost entirely by one person, Adin Ross. Adin had already begun transitioning into one of the biggest streamers in the world, and N3on managed to attach himself to that rising wave. The two became close, appearing in each other's content often, and N3on quickly realized that Adin's audience had an appetite for wild, unpredictable personalities. He fit right into that mold. By 2022, Kick launched as an alternative streaming platform with looser rules, fewer restrictions, and a hunger for big-name signings. Adin became one of the platform's faces, and N3on followed shortly after. The move changed everything for him. On YouTube, algorithm rules were suffocating his chaos, but on Kick, he had complete freedom. He officially joined the platform in 2023, and almost instantly his viewership exploded. Streams that struggled to break 5 digits on YouTube suddenly broke 100,000 on Kick. The platform rewarded outrage, rewarded drama, and rewarded unfiltered behavior, and N3on embraced all of it. Kick became the perfect environment for the version of N3on that had been slowly forming over the years. He could say slurs without fear of demonetization. He could scream racist insults. He could provoke people openly.
Hey, bitch in the back, shut up before I whip you, you dumb whore. I will whip every single one of you. I will whip you. I will whip.
The shock value became the point of the show. There was no algorithm to punish him and no corporate sponsors to pull out. Controversy wasn't a risk anymore. By 2023, N3on completed his transformation from a toxic 2K kid into a full-blown shock value streamer. His streams were built around extremes. He weaponized racism and sexism for reactions. He insulted guests live. He demeaned strangers.
It's so mad when I call them hood rats because they actually live in the hood. It's actually pathetic. Like, look at this. She's definitely in the hood. Actually, no, she's not black. Wait, whoa. Yo, what am I saying? Oh my god.
And he doubled down every time someone pushed back. He wasn't just loud or impulsive anymore, he was becoming known as one of the most toxic personalities on the internet, someone who thrived on tearing people down and crossing lines that other streamers, even controversial ones, wouldn't touch. And because Kick let it all slide, the behavior only intensified. His audience grew, his name trended constantly, but every jump in viewership came with another crack in his reputation, setting the stage for the chaos that would follow him into the real world. The first major hit to his Kick-era credibility came in 2023 with the Viewbotting Scandal. For months, people had already been suspicious of how fast N3on's viewership was climbing. He went from small streams to pulling near six-figure numbers almost overnight. But suspicion turned into proof when a Kick staff member named Santa Maria revealed that one of N3on's supposed 90,000 viewer streams was packed with 60,000 fake viewers.
At one point, N3on was botting 36,000 is now his average. At one point, I remember this dude was hitting 90. This dude was hitting 90,000. I'm just giving you proof that yes.
2/3 of his audience wasn't real. Instead of addressing any of it directly, N3on leaned into the victim narrative. He claimed he was being targeted, insisting people were trying to tear him down, and played up the idea that everyone was against him. The problem was that the evidence was right there, and the internet did not forget. But the Viewbotting Scandal wasn't the end of his troubles. It was the beginning of his downfall, spilling out of digital spaces and into the real world. The moment his content shifted heavily into IRL streaming, his persona became impossible to separate from his consequences. And nothing proved that more than the Nate Diaz incident. During a press event for a fight between Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal, N3on decided to insert himself into the chaos by asking one of the most disrespectful questions he could think of.
When you do get knocked out, are you gonna retire?
Who said that? So I know who you are. I'm gonna kick you in your fucking leg,
N3on tried playing it cool for a moment, but when the press conference ended and Diaz's crew started walking toward him, everything changed. He bolted. The cameras caught him sprinting outside while yelling, "I'm sorry," over and over.
I'm sorry. Please, I'm sorry!
The clip went viral immediately. Not because N3on was funny, but because he looked terrified. It became one of the earliest reminders that the toxic, loudmouth persona he used online couldn't protect him when the consequences stepped out from behind the screen, and with that humiliating moment, the IRL humiliation era truly began. The Nate Diaz incident cracked the door open, but the flood of humiliations that followed came from people who were not famous fighters. They were fellow creators who had simply grown tired of N3on's disrespect. One of the first and most memorable moments came during a stream with Fusi, where N3on's habit of talking without thinking finally caught up to him. Fusi asked him to name 5 DDG songs, expecting at least a bare minimum level of respect since DDG was a friend of his. N3on admitted he didn't know any, and the second the words left his mouth, Fusi grabbed him by the pants and yanked him into a wedgie right in front of the camera.
Name 5 DDG songs.
Name 5 DDG songs.
Bro, I'm gonna give you a wedgie right now.
I don't know any DDG songs. What? No, don't do that. My asshole. I said, why do that? Why am I?
Name 5 DDG songs right now.
I don't know any. Don't do it harder, please.
A little later, things escalated again when N3on burped directly into Fusi's face during a conversation. It wasn't a joke, it wasn't playful, it was straight disrespect.
Guy tagged you on everything.
I didn't know you wanted to rate it 40K views.
Yo.
Moments like that became routine for N3on, and one of the next major embarrassments came at a gym. During an IRL stream, he approached Lex Little's girlfriend under the guise of asking for workout advice. She gave him a polite answer and directed him to her boyfriend, who already knew exactly who N3on was. Lex shut it down immediately.
Excuse me, ma'am? Hi. Nice to meet you. I just wanted some advice for my documentary. What can I do to work out and, based on my physique? What?
You should ask my boyfriend.
Huh? You're not doing that. No, I was just asking for advice. Oh, okay. Alright, I didn't mean it. Okay.
No, it's just there's so many.
He told N3on directly not to approach his girlfriend like that and made it clear he didn't want him anywhere near her. N3on instantly backed off, apologized, and awkwardly complimented their relationship. As soon as he walked away, the embarrassment hit him so hard that he went to hide in the corner of the gym, whispering to his viewers that he had just gotten bitched.
I just got bitched. Yo.
Where we at?
I was mad. Oh my god. Nothing. I think I'm about to get pressed.
The pattern continued at a BKFC event when he tried to pick a fight with Jack Doherty. N3on had been acting tough on stream, talking like he could press anyone. When he spotted Jack, he jumped him first, shoving him and trying to act dominant. But minutes later, the tables turned. Jack found him outside the venue and lunged at him, tackling him and sending the situation spiraling instantly. N3on went from aggressor to victim in seconds. Bodyguards had to step in, and both of them hid behind security while trying to sound tough from a distance. Footage of the exchange circulated everywhere, and people mocked the entire thing because it showed N3on was only bold when cameras were rolling. The moment someone actually pushed back, he backed down or folded completely. The embarrassments kept piling on, each one carving deeper into N3on's reputation, and by this point the internet had started treating him less like a menace and more like a joke. One of the clearest examples came when Bryce Hall openly doubted N3on's toughness and decided to put him to the test. Instead of sparring N3on himself, Bryce set up a match between N3on and an 11-year-old kid. N3on tried to laugh it off, but you could see in his face that he knew how embarrassing the setup already was. The bell rang, and within seconds the kid cracked him with a clean punch that froze N3on in place. He tried to strike back, even going full force at one point, but the child outboxed him easily. Shot after shot connected, and N3on had no defense, no footwork, and no composure. The fight ended with the 11-year-old winning decisively, and the clip became an instant meme. It was the purest form of humiliation. The guy who talked like he could fight anyone got pieced up by a middle schooler. Not long after that, he found himself in another embarrassing moment during a kick stream with Aiden Ross. N3on had been joking about saying the N-word, something he constantly toyed with for shock value. One of Aiden's boys called in Aiden's security, a massive bodyguard who walked straight into the room and asked N3on to say the word right in front of him. N3on immediately froze.
Honest, bro. Thank you for the sub.
I heard you want to say the N-word. Oh! Say the N-word?
No.
Oh!
Oh my god.
Say it.
I'm not gonna say it on God.
Say it. Say it.
Oh my god.
Yeah!
When the guard grabbed him, lifted him clean off the ground, and held him up like a rag doll, N3on's voice broke into panic. He stammered, insisting he never meant it seriously, and tried to laugh it off. But the fear of God was all over his face. Even after being let down, he admitted he needed to go change his shorts, hinting that the fear got the best of him. The streets delivered an even harsher dose of reality. During an IRL stream, a man approached N3on after hearing rumors that he had been throwing around slurs. The moment the guy confronted him, N3on's entire demeanor shifted.
Who, me?
Yeah, bro.
I don't. No, I'm kidding. I do. I swear to God, I do. I'm trolling.
So I heard on YouTube you're saying like the hard N-word, bro. That's not cool, homie.
Oh, sorry. I won't say it again. I'm joking.
Why would you say that?
I'm joking.
He went from laughing to apologizing instantly, insisting it was a joke and swearing he wouldn't say it again. And then came one of the most infamous clips of his entire IRL era, the robbery. During a stream in the wrong neighborhood, a group of goons surrounded him. They took his shoes, ripped his shirt, checked his pockets, stole his phone, and made him call himself the B-word on camera. N3on looked pale, helpless, and terrified. The guys mocked him, waved his shoes around, and recorded the entire thing on his own phone while he stood there powerless.
Hey, look whose shoes we got. Got his ass lacking. Come on, bro. Got his ass lacking. Hey, what size y'all want? Look at his shirt. Ripped all type of stuff, boy. You know not to come around here talking like that. Oh, we on his ass. Come on, bro. Take his glasses off.
Some viewers believed it was staged because of his history, and he posted it to his Twitter by himself. But whether it was real or fake, the humiliation was undeniable. These moments weren't isolated incidents, they were proof that the character N3on played online couldn't survive offline. Every insult he'd ever thrown, every slur he'd ever used, every fake persona he performed eventually dragged him into the confrontations he couldn't win. And each time it happened, his reputation took another hit, pushing him further into the spiral that defined his phase of his career. One of the ugliest turning points in N3on's IRL era came when he decided to mock the Naughty Bop, a dance connected to the death of Didi Osama's younger brother, Nati Osama. It was one of these moments where N3on's ignorance met real street consequences. During a late-night stream, he danced and joked about the situation without understanding the weight behind it. Didi Osama saw the clip and did not take it lightly. He pulled up on N3on in the middle of the night and confronted him while N3on was streaming outside with his manager. Within seconds, the situation escalated. Didi and his people rushed them, swung on N3on, and chased him down the street. N3on stumbled and scrambled, barely escaping as the stream captured everything in shaky panic. It was one of the rawest humiliations he had faced yet, because it was rooted in something deeply personal for the artist he offended. 2 months later, Didi Osama confronted him again, but this time N3on had already learned his lesson. He didn't try to talk back or make excuses. He apologized instantly.
Like, you don't know where I come from. Like, you not from the streets, baby boy. Like, you's really a nerd, baby boy. You's really a nerd, baby boy. I'm trying to tell you, man. Look at me. Why you not looking at me?
Sorry, my bad.
Yo, Woo, it's not even, yo. Why you not paying attention?
So I'm nervous,
you know
bro.
how I feel right now? I feel like out you.
I'm sorry,
but
bro.
I'm not. Because what I'm...
Didi made him repeat the apology in front of his boys, forcing N3on to acknowledge that he didn't understand the seriousness of what he mocked. It was the first time N3on openly said he wasn't built for the streets, and the moment stuck with viewers because he looked genuinely scared and defeated. But the humiliations didn't stop there. In Los Angeles, N3on ended up in another confrontation during a party stream. It started when a girl was pulled away from talking to him, and N3on responded by bragging about how his money could get him any girl he wanted. The group of guys around him didn't take the flex seriously and laughed directly in his face. When they asked him who he even was, N3on grew irritated and told them to search him up.
You can get a girl? What do you have, money? You got money? What do you have?
I got good money for myself, yo. You don't need money. You just need money. You don't want to do the money game. I don't care, man. How much money you got? I got money. I got the most money. It's not all about money. You can have as much money as you want.
You're right. You're right.
I'm sure you get a...
They kept pressing him and followed him outside. The moment he realized they weren't joking and that the situation was turning serious, his confidence evaporated. He immediately backed down, claiming he was trolling, and tried to smooth things over. Each of these moments wasn't just humiliating because of the violence or confrontation, they were humiliating because they revealed the same thing over and over, that N3on's loud, toxic persona only existed in the safety of a screen. In real life, it collapsed anytime someone pushed back. The deeper N3on went into IRL chaos, the more doors began to close on him, and one of the biggest slams came from the UFC. Right before UFC 296, N3on posted on Instagram claiming he was going to confront Donald Trump at the event. It was classic N3on, another attempt to stir controversy and bait attention by attaching himself to powerful names. But this time, the organization he tried to use didn't find it funny. When he arrived at the arena, security told him he wasn't allowed inside.
Not allowed in.
What?
They dropped your name specifically.
Huh?
They just dropped your name specifically, bro. They said N3on is not allowed in.
In the stadium?
Yes.
What? There's no way.
No.
Dana White addressed the situation during a press conference, and he didn't hold back. He said N3on deserved to be kicked out, and made it clear the UFC wasn't interested in giving clout to people who make threats or say stupid things online for attention.
Some stupid shit on Instagram, and when you start saying stupid shit like that, yeah, you're probably going to get busted up and thrown out of here, making threats and talking dumb shit, looking for clout.
Dana dismissed him bluntly, saying he didn't care what N3on claimed he was going to do, and pointing out that N3on's behavior was exactly the kind of nonsense that gets people banned. For N3on, who had always tried inserting himself into big-name spaces for relevance, getting publicly disowned by one of the most influential figures in sports was a brutal moment. By late 2023, N3on's career had reached a point where the chaos was no longer entertaining, it was concerning. The content that once relied on shock value started sliding into outright self-destruction. In an attempt to keep people watching, he began offering money to strangers on stream to punch him in the face. It wasn't a joke or some high-energy bit, it was desperation disguised as content. Viewers saw a kid who had run out of ideas and was now resorting to letting people hit him just so he could stay relevant for another hour. At the same time, the Nate Diaz humiliation clip resurfaced and went even more viral. The image of N3on running, panicking, begging, and apologizing while Diaz's people approached him became a symbol of everything wrong with his online persona. His bravado had collapsed so dramatically that the clip was shared everywhere as proof that N3on wasn't tough, wasn't confident, and wasn't who he pretended to be on stream. By the end of 2023, the audience was tired. The cycles of drama, fake stunts, reckless behavior, humiliations, and half-hearted apologies had burned out his viewer base. His streams, which once hit massive numbers on Kick, started to dip. Viewers weren't tuning in to see what he would do next, they were tuning out, because they already knew it would be another spiral. Even commentary creators began labeling him one of the most hated streamers on the internet, citing his racism, disrespect, stage drama, and constant self-inflicted controversies. For the first time in years, N3on was no longer rising, he was crumbling. But early 2024 marked a turning point that surprised a lot of people. After getting pressed repeatedly by creators he disrespected, after being chased, slapped, confronted, robbed, and banned, N3on finally started to understand what everyone had been telling him for years. He realized that reckless talk online leads to real consequences offline. The street confrontations, the creators pressing him on site, the fear in his voice during certain streams. All of it added up to the same lesson he'd been ignoring. He couldn't keep insulting people and assuming nothing would happen. He couldn't keep acting untouchable when half the industry wanted to check him in person. And somewhere in that string of humiliations, something clicked. N3on began to understand how disliked he truly was across the streaming world. People didn't avoid him because he was edgy, they avoided him because he had built a reputation as someone toxic, rude, and impossible to associate with without harm to their own brand. Once that became undeniable, he started taking the first real steps toward changing. The shift wasn't instant, but it was visible. He began controlling his mouth more on streams. He started distancing himself from the reckless persona that had defined his rise. For the first time since he'd entered the scene, N3on seemed aware of how badly he had damaged his own name. This was the beginning of his redemption arc. Not the performative one from 2019 where he claimed no more toxic N3on and immediately got worse. This was real reflection triggered by real consequences, and it marked the first time N3on looked toward rebuilding instead of ruining his career. By 2025, N3on's content had shifted so dramatically that people almost didn't recognize him anymore. The constant slurs, rage fits, and shock value insults that had defined his brand for years were finally gone. He'd stopped using racist language entirely, cut down the toxic persona, and began presenting himself with a level of restraint no one thought he was capable of. And as his behavior improved, so did his opportunities. In 2025, for the first time in his career, N3on began collaborating with people who would never have gone near him in his toxic era. Real athletes, real names, real professionals. He streamed with Cowboy star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, a collaboration that made the internet stop and take him seriously for a moment. He then expanded that success by streaming with NBA players like Miles Bridges and Malik Beasley, both of whom brought legitimacy and credibility to his platform.
What is up with you guys, chat? We are in Charlotte, North Dakota. We are here with the one and only Miles Bridges, chat. It's gonna be a great stream today. Everyone put a W.
These weren't chaotic collabs with troublemakers or streamers known for drama. These were players with established careers and reputations. And the fact that they were willing to sit with N3on spoke volumes about how much he had changed. But the moment that truly defined his redemption arc came from a collaboration no one expected, his stream with LiAngelo Ball. It started out like any other guest appearance, but the entire tone of his career shifted when LiAngelo played a snippet of his unreleased song, Tweaker. The clip went viral overnight. For once, N3on wasn't the problem in the room. He wasn't the threat. He was helping create moments, not destroy them. The redemption arc didn't come from a speech or an apology video, it came from a consistent pattern of better behavior, more mature content, and collaborations that validated his efforts. By 2025, N3on wasn't begging the industry to forgive him, he was earning it. N3on's redemption arc didn't just hinge on better behavior, it required him to confront the damage he'd done. In 2025, he embarked on what essentially became a public apology tour, a series of face-to-face reconciliations where he sought out people he had disrespected or feuded with and took accountability in a way the old N3on never would have considered. One of the earliest apologies came toward Plaqueboy Max, a streamer N3on had mocked and belittled during his toxic rise. The apology wasn't scripted or clipped for views. He approached Max directly, admitted that he had crossed the line repeatedly, and acknowledged how his own insecurities fueled the behavior. Max didn't accept the apology, but the gesture showed N3on's intent to rebuild relationships he had burned. He repeated the same pattern with Hassan, another creator he had insulted during the peak of his shocking, rage-driven online persona.
Where streamers from all corners of the internet came together. N3on went out of his way to move around the entire building and personally apologize to everyone.
He offered personal apologies, shook hands, and owned the moments where he'd crossed boundaries. It wasn't a grand performance, it was a quiet, humbling circuit of accountability that helped people see he was genuinely trying to change. But the most emotional and complicated apology involved Dub and his son Whoop. Dub confronted N3on directly at the same event, making it clear he still held serious resentment from the disrespect N3on had shown to his son years earlier. Instead of deflecting, N3on stood there and apologized in full, face to face, without excuses. The apology didn't dissolve the tension immediately, but Dub accepted it long enough to walk away without escalating the situation. A few days later, N3on followed up with a more personal gesture. He met with Whoop directly, apologized again for the disrespect, and gifted him an apology Rolex. It was symbolic more than anything, a way of showing that he understood the weight of what he had said and wanted to put the past fully behind them.
If he apologized, he just had to apologize to me. The internet is the internet, but real life is real life.
No, for sure.
That's what I was.
And that's the problem with me, bro. When I was saying all those things, it was behind a screen, so I didn't really realize. Be honest, like if you're on Fortnite or anything, like you say some crazy stuff.
Even then, Dub later went live and admitted he still didn't trust N3on, arguing that the apology seemed more like a strategic move than an authentic one. But even with that skepticism, N3on's willingness to confront every person he had wronged marked a clear shift from the chaotic kid who used to laugh at consequences. It showed that redemption for him wasn't just about changing his content, it was about repairing the relationships he had damaged along the way. Today, N3on still occupies a strange space in the streaming world. The constant slurs, the reckless confrontations, the shock value cruelty that once defined him had noticeably faded. In their place was a version of N3on who understood restraint, who thought before he spoke, and treated people with a level of respect most viewers had never seen from him before. It wasn't a complete transformation, but it was a clear evolution. Even those who disliked him had to admit he wasn't the kid he had been. Still, the public remained deeply divided on what his transformation actually meant. Some believed the redemption arc was real, that the humiliation, confrontations, bans, and industry backlash had forced him to grow up and look inward. They saw a kid who made mistakes, got checked repeatedly, and finally learned from the consequences. But others argued the change was strategic, a calculated rebrand driven by self-preservation rather than sincerity. They pointed to his new collaborations, cleaner image, and attempts to rebuild burned bridges as proof that he was simply adjusting to what the industry now demanded from him. The truth, as always with N3on, probably lived somewhere in between. He was still flawed, still learning, and still capable of slipping into old habits. But in 2025, he stood as someone undeniably more mature than the reckless figure he had been. Whether you believed in his growth or not, one thing was impossible to deny. N3on had rewritten the trajectory of his career, and for the first time in years, he seemed determined to keep it pointed upward.